Yep. Alright, cool. Well, I'm Potato Handle, this is Rennie MT. Meta will be sitting over there at some point, I don't know where he's gone, but he'll be back. This is Rocket Pineapple, she'll be running the game with me today. And yeah, this is Lost Odyssey. It's going to start up pretty quickly, and then there'll be a bit of a chance to explain what the game is and what's going on. So 3, 2, 1, go. So we're going to jump straight into a fight right at the start of the game. Basically, I'll be choosing particular enemies to attack, and that'll like kill them so they don't attack me. It saves, I don't know, 30 or 40 seconds off the bat. I haven't tried every combination because there's got to be hundreds and hundreds of combinations with these guys, but this one seems to be pretty efficient. You can see the turn order down the bottom left-hand side, and that'll basically show that like every time I'm attacking, except on this last turn, it'll kill off at least one of the guys. And the obligatory tutorial fight that you can't die on. I've just got to attack the left side, then the right side, then the left side over and over again. If you attack the same side twice in a row, then it becomes basically invincible on that side, so it deals like no damage. Oh man, the crits. All the crits. We know of precisely one person who's managed to get a crit on both, on the same side twice, and managed to kill it a turn early, but the luck required is like incredibly strong. Because you have to get it in the first 2 attacks for it to make any difference whatsoever. Oh yes, definitely. I get lots and lots of useless crits in this game. For a tutorial fight, this thing's pretty brutal. Like, if you get killed, it takes a few seconds and then you get back up and you can keep fighting. But if you make any mistake in this fight, then you're going to at least get knocked down. But we'll probably learn very quickly during this, at least the first disc of this game, that the first disc is pretty damn brutal. And basically the storyline here, there's a huge meteor that falls on this battlefield and basically ruins everything and takes out the entire warring armies and all their weaponry and stuff like that. And yet Kime survives, and he's not exactly sure why at this point. And that's sort of how the story kicks off. A couple of forced encounters around here. There's not really much to them. I'll just be attacking them and one shot, one kill sort of thing. Some random encounters coming up a little bit later on too. I want to run into groups of 2 of them if I can. If I run into groups of 3, they take a lot longer to fight. It's all life-based though, I can't do much about it. Now we get to see whether or not I'm going to pick up the tutorial skips or not. I do like accepting tutorials in this game.
Who doesn't?
There we go, that's 1. I think there's about, what, 6 or something that I've got to say no to?
Including one on disc 4.
Yeah, the tutorials go for a long time in this game. This encounter here, it's like right at the edge of the screen, and like, it nearly always happens, like 99% of the time you will get this encounter, like literally 99% of the time. But I think out of all the runs that me and everyone else has done, we've managed to avoid this encounter like twice. and we don't know how. There is a way to get around it, but it seems mostly random. And the tutorial that we skipped, by the way, was for the targeting ring, which you're now seeing on the physical attacks. And you'll be seeing that a fair bit, because I'll be using that sort of at the start and the end of the game, sort of not so much in the middle. And basically I've got to hold down the right trigger and then let it go when the indicator is like in between the outer ring and then the middle ring. The timing's pretty tight. If I had to take a guess, it was probably say like 3 or 4 frames. If I'm sort of used to everything, and I can get the hang of it, then I can usually get it down to about a 50-50. Because like the trigger buttons are a bit squishy, it's sort of hard to get it exactly right, but I'm sort of using these fights as a chance to get used to the way the TV and everything is set up. Fortunately on these fights it doesn't matter, they're going to die even if I get a bad and miss it completely. Alright, 3 encounters is pretty good. So now, unfortunately, there's a bit of a section where we're going to run through a place called Ura, and just hit some quest triggers, but... oh, actually, there's some chests I'll pick up first. There's an angel plume in here, which is, if you're a bit to Final Fantasy, that's basically a phoenix down. That's mainly for safety, but I usually pick it up anyway. And in here are 4 whetstones and another tutorial. Yes, they keep tutorials in boxes in this. And those whetstones you have to pick up in order to be able to leave the area, and I will actually use them a little bit later on too. So yeah, we're in sort of cutscene hell for a little while now, but if you haven't heard of Lost Odyssey, what basically happened is that after Final Fantasy 9 and some people in 10 as well, gradually the original creators of the Final Fantasy games sort of splintered off and started working on other projects, and a lot of them moved to Mistwalker eventually. And they've made a few games like Blue Dragon and The Last Remnant?
Last Story.
Last Story, yes, and Lost Odyssey. And this is sort of, I think this is the first game they did when, like, basically the whole team was there. So this is basically a Final Fantasy game. It's, you know, the score's done by Uematsu and the storyline's done by Sakaguchi, and you know, it's basically most of the original team. So it's sort of turn-based as well. Like, it sort of plays a lot like a PlayStation 1 era Final Fantasy game. The unfortunate thing is that it was released as a 360 exclusive, so as a result, a lot of you guys probably haven't played it, and definitely a lot of people in Japan haven't played it because they're not really into the 360 over there. So the game has a bit of a cult following, but that's around about it. Also, a lot of people play it and, you know, get up to about disc 2 or disc 3, and you know, and I think it's too long or something. It's generally accepted that people like this game, but it's, I don't know, probably just a little bit too long for some people. I mean, I like the length because this game is awesome, but you know, as far as a digestible sort of game, it does take a bit of a time commitment to get through it, especially if you're gonna, you know, 100% it and do everything along the way. I suppose to give you a sort of a rough idea of the time commitment you're looking to play this game. If you're going to go around and try and collect everything and find everything, there is stuff hidden everywhere in this game, and, like, you know, pots and wall posters and all sorts of stuff. So it's
Trees.
yeah, trees and you know, vines on the wall and stuff like that. So if you're the person, you know, sort of like me, when the first time you play through a game, you want to go and do everything. You can probably expect this game to take you about 80 or 90 hours to finish the first time. We've managed to peg the speed run down to about, well, 7 hours would be a really good run with donation incentives and probably some mistakes by me because I'm a little bit average at remembering things at the best of times. It'll probably take me around about 8, hopefully. But I'll be picking up a few things on my way through Ura. It's probably going to take me about 17 or 18 minutes to get out of here, and then I'll be back into doing some combat and stuff like that. But the first time you play through this game, if you're going around picking everything up, you're probably going to be stuck in Ura for about 3 hours. Match faster, rocket. There's sort of a few different ways that dialogue is displayed in this game, obviously through cutscenes. Sometimes it's through text that you can mash through like this, but it is still voiced, and sometimes it's just text, and these are obviously the longest ones because you can't skip them, and you sort of have to wait for the dialogue to be like available. Like if it was just text, you'd be able to like immediately cancel the next box as soon as the previous one was gone, but with these it's a little bit slower. There's not too many of those in the game though. That was obviously one of the faster ones there, so off to the side here will be another 100 gold. I'm basically collecting money to fight the first boss because another roadblock in this game for new players is that the first disc is incredibly difficult. I don't know why they did it, but the first 3 bosses in particular are just ruinously hard, and it almost made it so this wasn't speedrunnable. They were just, you know, to fight them at low level as well was a little bit too much.
The first boss especially gets a lot of new people.
Yeah, and same with the second one, Boggy Moray. It's Boggy Moray's like got a bit of complication to it as well. A lot of people fight the first boss and they just sort of end up getting lucky with which moves you use. I know that's what I did. If you're prepared for it, you can get it down pretty consistently, but there is a chance that I'll die to it in this run, even though it's the first boss. And at this point, you know, I'm going to be fighting the first few bosses and I won't be underleveled. So if bad stuff happens, it's, you know, something that would have happened in a real run as well, like a you know, normal playthrough. Very important cutscene to trigger down here. Just to run south like 2 steps to trigger that cutscene. Otherwise, you run north for like ages and ages and ages. And
you have forgotten that trigger.
I forgot that on my I've forgotten that on my last run of this. Well, I did practice before and I didn't forget it, but I only did like the first 20 minutes or something to get a save. And here's the last bit of money I'll pick up. I think that'll give me around about 900 gold. I basically need 880 to be exact, but I should have plenty more than that because I got a few extra encounters in the first area.
And that money is pretty much just to get what you need to fight the first boss.
Yeah, and try and make it somewhat consistent and fast. And we'll be engaging the guard rule of Lost Odyssey here. Anytime there's 2 guards in front of a door, you talk to the one on the right. It makes it very easy to remember through the speedrun. That was an interesting direction to start moving. Okay, Kaim, that's cool. We can work with that. I'm just holding forward and he starts belting back towards the door. That's cool. This, if anyone's familiar with like the way that Final Fantasy X movement works, like if you transition screens and you're still holding a direction, sometimes Titus will like just run off in a seemingly random direction. It sort of happens in this game sometimes too.
Pretty much good general rule of thumb is don't hold the
Yeah.
analog stick during loading.
All right, we're almost out of Ura, and then we'll be we'll be heading to the Ypsilon Mountains where we fight in the first boss. And we've actually got to do a little bit of leveling there too. It's sort of because it's convenient, because basically I'm going to play sort of normally up until I get the Turntail Shoes, which guarantees escape. There is a flee command as well, but it is really, really inconsistent, and the extra levels can help, and the fights in the first area don't really take that long to do, so because the first disc is so hard, for a little while we'll be doing random encounters. And Drunk Jansen was met, wasn't it?
I believe so.
That'll be coming up in about 2 minutes, if that.
I believe when I checked earlier today it was met.
Excellent, cool.
Awesome.
I'm just gonna fight the impulse to skip every cutscene for a brief moment.
Okay, it's okay. You can do it.
Just gonna center myself and not run into those stairs, or those ones, and maybe select the right bit of dialogue on this guy.
At least at this point, it's not as bad to choose the wrong one. Later on in the game,
Yeah.
you try and use him. He has more options.
Yes, and I've had some interesting controllers in the past that will either not work quite, like will not press down multiple times, or press not at all, and you'll press the wrong spot and you're going to put up with 2 loading screens. Anyway, since it was donated for, I'll be quiet during this part.
We should have already been gone by now.
I'm waiting for somebody.
What? Who?
There's somebody else on the team.
Huh? I haven't heard about that.
I have.
What the? This is the other guy?
Wow, baby. Wow.
Reeks of booze.
Why are you late?
Can't you tell? A man's got to do certain things before leaving on a mission like this. I knew what I had to do. Thank you, my love. You're digested in the hospital. Oh, don't say that. That's so nice. Hey, oh, you're gonna love it. Missing you. Hey, have just 15 more minutes. Hey, 15 for her, and her. That's 45 minutes.
Like we would wait for you, you worthless drunk. You poor things. You know what? You're free to go. Thanks for bringing him to us.
No, I need that money.
You're such a doll. Come and play with us next time, honey. Hey, don't touch me. Get out of here. Shoo!
That's not very nice. Okay, bye-bye, girl. Don't cry. I'm back.
Great. Just what we need. More useless baggage.
Hey, that's not nice. I'm gonna come in real handy. You know, you can count on it. Oh, hey,
Who's counting on what?
ow.
Ugh.
Hey, man, you're so angry. Let me follow. Hey, you ready?
He
So-
definitely comes in very handy at
Yeah.
on the first disc.
Yes, he's like, you wouldn't be able to do this run without Jansen on the first disc. Yeah, it shows that because it gives you an idea of what all the characters are like in a pretty short amount of time. I think the cutscene's only a minute and a half long or something. And you know, being a speedrun, it's pretty hard to get an idea of what the characters are like and all that. So that gives you a pretty good idea. So this is my first shopping trip. It's actually pretty handy. This guy actually stops you on the way out. and like forces you to shop. So doesn't obviously doesn't waste any time to talk to him. And we buy 8 flare bombs and 2 healing medicines. The healing medicines are sort of for safety. Healing medicines in this game, you start with 10 of them, but they're basically useless because they heal 100 health and you start with like 600. So basically I bought some more there so that I could combine them into better healing items a little bit later onto the run. And whoops, ring assembly.
And then putting that shop there is almost pretty much hinting towards the first boss.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so if you're playing through this casually, you should definitely buy flare bombs. You will need them. Otherwise, you need to get really, really lucky. Alright, so I did jump into the menu really quickly. I created, with the whetstones I picked up earlier on, I crafted a bruiser ring, which gives Seth the targeting ring, and it just means she does a little bit more damage when she gets a good or a perfect. And hopefully, I can beat this guy before he gets a turn and save a little bit of time. Hopefully Jansen will finish it off. Cool.
Yay! See, he's already useful.
I got a double perfect then. I wasn't actually sure whether or not that finished it off before Jansen got an attack. I think there's like a damage range there that you can get that finishes it off before Jansen even attacks, but I've only gotten it like once ever. Or maybe I got a crit then, I'm not sure. But getting 2 perfects was pretty good. I'm starting to get the hang of the TV now, which is good. So there'll be a slot seed in here and another flare bomb. Obviously the flare bombs for the next boss. And slot seeds basically allow you to equip more abilities. So I'll be picking up a few of those as I go through, but I don't need that many. So I'll be picking up a fair few off bosses as well, since they don't take any extra time to pick up. And this area is all going to be about just attacking things in a way that will kill them as quickly as possible and hopefully kill them before they get a turn, just to save up time on our turn order. And we'll be fighting stuff in the first couple of areas, and then we'll get the turntail shoes and we won't be fighting any random encounters anymore, with like 2 exceptions for the rest of the run.
It's not in my nature to lose.
In this chest will be Knight's Code. It's pretty much only used for the boss, or the 3rd boss, I suppose. It's sort of not really a boss, but
The
it's...
fight after Bagamore.
Yeah, the fight after Bogimore. And it's basically what it does. I haven't got into GC mechanics yet, and I will when they're a little bit more relevant, but basically what it does is when I use the defend command, it will increase my GC, which is sort of like another HP bar. But yeah, I'll go into that in a little bit more detail when it's a little bit more relevant, which will be on the Army 1 fight, which is after Bogimore.
Just a reminder, guys, there are still 2 donation incentives that haven't been met for this run yet, and about halfway through, Voligen will be cutting off the donation incentives for trainer name and everything, so he can get a backup